The world has been shaken by heartbreaking news. Pope Francis, the beloved leader of the Roman Catholic Church, has passed away at the age of 88, following a difficult battle with double pneumonia. His death came just a day after delivering his Easter blessing, a final moment of grace from a man who devoted his life to faith and humility.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona Pasqua.
Pope Francis made history as the first Latin American and first Jesuit to lead the Catholic Church. In 2013, no one expected a 76-year-old to become the 266th Pope.
Francis. It's the first Francis in the history of the Catholic Church.
From the moment he stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica in simple white robes, asking for prayers, it was clear this papacy would break the mold.
The fact that he just said, buonasera, good evening, to the people, so I think that really warmed up people's hearts.
Buonasera.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio didn't care for titles or golden thrones. He fought for the poor, stood for justice, and kept it simple. So let's take a look at Pope Francis's journey to faith. Early life. Jorge Mario Bergoglio was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in 1936 as the eldest son of 5 kids. His parents were Italian immigrants. Mario worked for the railways as an accountant, while Regina was a full-time mom.
So from the very beginning, he grew up with the stories of poverty, of displacement, which characterized the immigrant story.
Jorge earned degrees in chemistry, philosophy, and theology. Before joining the seminary, he tried all kinds of jobs: janitor, bar bouncer, lab assistant.
Before entering the Jesuits, he had an experience as a young guy, an experience of work. So we can say he had an experience of life.
But despite his busy life, he felt a growing pull toward the church. The real turning point came in 1953, on the Feast of St. Matthew. Before going to the party, I passed by the parish where I was going, found a priest whom I did not know, and felt the need to go to confession. After confession, I felt that something had changed. I was not the same. I had heard just like a voice, a call. I was convinced that I had to become a priest. In 1958, he joined the Jesuit novitiate in Buenos Aires, and believe it or not, he almost didn't become a priest because he had a crush on a girl, but eventually he opted to dedicate himself to God and the church, even though his devout Catholic mom didn't support his choice at first.
It was the fact that he was leaving, so she would have had the same reaction if he had said he was marrying or if he was leaving for another country. But eventually she was happy, very happy with his decision.
His early life wasn't without struggle, though. At 21, he got a severe case of pneumonia and lost part of one lung. Jorge was ordained in 1969 and quickly rose through the ranks, becoming the Jesuit provincial of Argentina just a few years later, but that was only the beginning. Priesthood. In 1998, Bergoglio became Archbishop of Buenos Aires. He didn't waste any time, slashing church corruption and strengthening support in the city's poorest areas. Jorge doubled the number of priests working in slums, hospitals, and prisons, making charity a mission, not a side note.
A closed heart becomes hardened. It hardens and gets sick. It gets life sick. The heart must be open.
Bergoglio also took a bold step by publicly apologizing for the church's silence during Argentina's brutal, dirty war. It was a rare move, honest, humble, and powerful. In 2001, Pope John Paul II named him Cardinal Priest of St. Robert Bellarmino. But even with the red hat, Bergoglio kept his low-profile lifestyle. No palace, no chauffeur, just a small apartment, public transport, and home-cooked meals. After Pope John Paul II died in 2005, Jorge reportedly got the second most votes in the conclave, but the papacy went to Cardinal Ratzinger, who became Pope Benedict XVI, the people's pope. In 2013, Pope Benedict shocked the world by resigning, the first pope to step down in nearly 600 years. That meant a new conclave, and this time there was no stopping Jorge Bergoglio. On just the second day, and after 5 rounds of voting, he was elected pope. The inspiration for his name, a whisper from a fellow cardinal.
Mi abbracciò, mi baciò e mi ha detto non ti dimentichi dei poveri. E quella parola è entrata qui. I poveri, i poveri.
He chose the name Francis after Saint Francis of Assisi, known for his love for the poor. With that, Bergoglio became the first citizen from the Americas, the first non-European, and the first Jesuit priest to be named Pope. But what really made headlines wasn't just who he was, it was how he did things. No to the papal palace, yes to a modest Vatican guest house, no to the limo, yes to a Fiat. And during audiences, jokes, selfies, hugs, thumbs up. Francis said his simple choices came from spiritual discernment, seeing a world full of poverty and choosing humility. The press quickly dubbed him the People's Pope.
He seems a bit more enlightened and open. It's all a blessing when he speaks.
He gave people hope, comfort, and something rare in public figures, empathy. He connected with the public on their wavelength. He caught gifts from crowds, snapped selfies with students, knew how to smile, and made others smile too. Once during a speech at the Vatican, a little boy from the audience broke through security and climbed onto the stage. And the Pope's reaction? Not anger.
No puede hablar, es mudo, pero sabe comunicar, sabe expresarse. Y tiene una cosa que me hizo pensar, es libre, indisciplinadamente libre.
As Time and The Advocate both agreed in 2013, this Pope was the Person of the Year. Oh, and he also made a pop rock CD. The album, called Wake Up, dropped in 2015 and features the Pope singing hymns and giving speeches over upbeat tunes. Francis wasn't changing church doctrine, but he was changing the conversation, bringing warmth, humility, and nuance to one of the oldest institutions in the world. Last years and legacy. Francis has often been described as a progressive, or at least a moderate with a reformist heart. Since the beginning of his papacy, he's voiced deep concern for the environment. A vocal advocate for climate action, Francis has never minced words.
Unfortunately, we have gotten to a point of no return. It's sad, but that's what it is. Global warming is a serious problem. Climate change at this moment is a road to death. A road to death, eh?
He also pushed for a stronger role for women within the church. The Pope has appointed more ladies to positions of power than any of his predecessors.
Women are the ones who move changes forward, all sorts of changes. They are braver than men. They know how best to protect life. Women are masterful custodians of life. Don't forget that the ones who never abandoned Jesus were the women.
Los varones escaparon todos.
The men all fled.
On LGBTQ+ issues, Francis has not changed doctrine, but his approach has been notably more compassionate than that of past popes. In a 2013 interview, he famously said, "If a person is gay and seeks the Lord and has goodwill, well, who am I to judge them?" That one sentence didn't alter church law, but its impact was seismic. He's met regularly with transgender Catholics, and in 2023 stated for the first time that priests could baptize transgender people. A small gesture, but part of his ongoing pastoral outreach. Elected at 76, Francis has kept a hectic schedule, visiting more than 60 countries over the last decade. But as one of the oldest popes in history, he's faced mounting health challenges.
New health concerns for Pope Francis.
The Pope is recovering from the flu.
Pope Francis is being hospitalized for intestinal surgery.
In recent years, he had to use a wheelchair and has struggled with recurring respiratory infections. In early 2025, the 88-year-old pontiff was admitted to Gemelli Hospital with pneumonia in both lungs. His doctors said he came dangerously close to death. But despite this major health scare, Francis has remained upbeat.
Ella está bien.
My health? She's all right.
Está bien.
No, it's fine. It's
Está
fine.
bien.
On April 21st, the Vatican confirmed that Pope Francis had died in Rome at the age of 88. During his week-long stay at Gemelli Hospital, it was revealed that the pontiff had been battling more than just pneumonia in both lungs. He was also fighting a complex lung infection. Doctors placed him on high flows of oxygen, and he received blood transfusions after tests showed low platelet counts due to anemia. The official announcement of his passing came from Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Vatican Camerlengo. At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father. His whole life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and His Church. He taught us to live the values of the gospel with fidelity, courage, and universal love, especially in favor of the poorest and most marginalized. His death was announced just one day after what would be his final Easter blessing. That Sunday, Francis surprised the world by appearing in St. Peter's Square during the Easter celebrations. It was his first public outing since his hospitalization, and though visibly frail, he greeted thousands from the Pope Mobile, bringing joy and comfort to the faithful. Before delivering the blessing, he held a brief private meeting with the USA Vice President J.D. Vance, a devout Catholic. Following the news of the Pope's death, Vance posted, "My heart goes out to the millions of Christians all over the world who loved him. I was happy to see him yesterday, though he was obviously very ill. But I'll always remember him for the below homily he gave in the very early days of COVID. It was really quite beautiful." European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also paid tribute. He inspired millions, far beyond the Catholic Church, with his humility and love so pure for the less fortunate. My thoughts are with all who feel this profound loss. Israeli President Isaac Herzog expressed his condolences to the Christian world, writing, "A man of deep faith and boundless compassion, he dedicated his life to uplifting the poor and calling for peace in a troubled world. May his memory continue to inspire acts of kindness, unity, and hope." Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said, "A great man has left us. I had the privilege of enjoying his friendship, his advice, and his teachings, which never failed even in moments of trial and suffering." French President Emmanuel Macron shared his own reflections. From Buenos Aires to Rome, Pope Francis wanted the Church to bring joy and hope to the poorest. May it unite people with each other and with nature. May this hope continually revive beyond him. The Pope's passing marks not only the end of a significant era, but the beginning of a new chapter for the Catholic Church. Cardinals from around the world will now travel to Rome, first to mourn, then to begin the process of choosing his successor. However, the conclave, where the new pope will be elected, is not expected to take place for at least 15 days. Per his wishes, Francis will not be buried alongside most of his predecessors. Instead, his final resting place will be the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore in Rome, a quiet tribute to his love for simplicity and devotion to the Virgin Mary. During his papacy, Francis has stood out as a leader unafraid of change. He's worked to make the Church more human, more present in people's lives. He's shown the world that even an ancient institution can evolve, not by force, but with humility and honesty. And when asked about his own legacy, Francis didn't talk about himself.
I never really thought about it. The Church is the legacy. The Church not only through the Pope, but through you, through every Christian, through everyone. Personally, I get on the bandwagon of the Church and its legacy for all.
A humble ending to a remarkable journey. Rest in peace, Pope Francis.